This is Pro Series Off Topic.
Welcome back to Pro Series Off Topic. This is episode 45, and as you can see on the floor in front of me, we have our first guest. This is Nala. She came down when I was setting up, which is very unusual because she usually hates the lighting tripods, the tripod that's holding my phone, all this stuff in front of me. She's usually scared of. She's scared of if there's a blanket outside of her crate, she can't get out of her crate because that blanket is in her way, even though she's a 75-pound golden retriever. So I'm very surprised she's sitting here. Nala, do you want to say anything? Yeah, you're not the best guest. So let's get back into this episode. There was a post that I was about to post last night about different design trends that kind of had me scratching my head, and it kind of got me down a rabbit hole of different things that people had in their house that everybody knows someone that had this in the house in different decades. And kind of going back into the 90s, I grew up with a house that had this, but there's this golden oak table that's circle or squared, and it had the big chunky center leg. I'll put a picture here, and it's everybody had one, or they knew someone that had one, which is just nuts. That who was that salesperson that got them doing this? It's just insane that everybody had someone that knew someone that had this exact same table. And then it got me into a rabbit hole of these 80s couches and these 90s couches that everybody had, or the big floral 70s couches that usually had the plastic covering over top of it because they wanted to protect it. And then I got down to, the shag carpeting, and then kind of got into these advertisements of shag carpeting from back in the day, and which those who don't know shag carpeting, go look it up. It's the thick carpeting. I think everybody knows it except probably the newest generation. But it's not really a thing anymore. There's some area rugs that have that thick shag look to it, but they had this advertisement of this rake for shag carpeting, which I think is absolutely hilarious. And for me, I don't like the very thick pile carpeting because it's very hard to vacuum. I just don't know how'd you clean it back then? That's a question I need to look up. The vacuums, didn't the vacuums just get to suck up all the high fibers and just get kind of clogged? I don't know. That's something I need to look up. And then I got into tile countertops, which I never understood. I've been into many houses that have tile countertops, and countertops have that. You're cutting chicken, you're cutting all kinds of stuff. There's a bunch of bacteria, and then you have that grout of the tile. And a lot of it was like those 3x3s or those 4x4 tiles, and that is so much grout. And who thought that tile countertops would ever be a clean surface? It makes no sense. Why wouldn't you just use the Formica? Formica is one of those countertops that have been around forever. It's still a thing today. It's not going anywhere. I don't know why people kind of go away from it and kind of think it's a cheap option, but it could look really, really nice. If you can't afford the real deal marble or the real deal quartz or granite or whatever, Formica's an amazing option. I don't know why people kind of make it as this cheap, crappy countertop, because it's not that anymore. It has come a long way. They 3D match. They use awesome stones in nature, and they're printing it on the Formica sheet, so it looks real. They even have texture match now that actually feels like a stone, like an earthed or a leathered granite. So I don't understand the tile countertop trend. It just doesn't make sense. And honestly, we could go on forever with countertops, and I know I've posted about this before, but the painting of granite countertops is absolutely absurd to me. To paint over something like that as a natural stone, it just doesn't make sense to me. I get it if I mean, there's some people on social media that kind of go over it and they're like, you know what, I can't afford a new countertop at this time, but I want to do a little bit of a makeover to kind of just put my mind at ease and make it look welcoming and what I want to live with until I can afford a new countertop. I get that. But there's some people that are selling their house saying completely renovated kitchen with new countertops or just completely renovated kitchen, and it implies that there's new countertops, but it's really just a painted granite that came with the house. It doesn't make sense. Real estate agents, please try to make your clients aware that that is not a renovated kitchen. It's not what that means. But that was kind of all that were the design trends that were really, really made me curious. I mean, the carpet in the bathroom thing was. I want to meet the first person that came up with that because that's just disgusting. That's absurd. I don't. If you still have carpet in your bathroom, do not invite me over. I do not want to come to your house. I do not want to go to the bathroom. I don't want to go in there. Don't want to smell the bathroom. That is just absolutely disgusting. That's just absurd that people even still to this day want that. Now that I got off that rant, let's get on to country music this week. Decent amount came out this week. The first one that came out was a song by Bailey Zimmerman. He's been teasing on TikTok a lot. He's one of those artists that are using TikTok to their advantage, and he isn't part of the UMG umbrella, which is good. So he is still able to tease songs on TikTok. If you don't know what that means, UMG is Universal Music Group. They own a bunch of different labels through country labels to pop to hip hop, whatever. But they took a stance on the whole TikTok thing because I guess they're not getting a lot of money and stuff. I haven't read a lot onto it, but they took every single one of their artists' catalogs off of TikTok because it just wasn't working for them, which, okay, but it kind of sucks for these artists that kind of, tease their music. I think Bailey Zimmerman's great at it. I think, the person that's amazing at it is Megan Trainor. She kind of, I don't think she ever went away, but she really, really took that TikTok trend over COVID and really ran with it, and it allowed her to really, really just make her career to a whole nother level with that. So I think a lot of people have seen that, and Bailey Zimmerman is one of them, and he is really doing well with that. But this song's called Holy Smokes. I do really like it. It's one of those songs that need to grow on me. I give it probably like a 3 out of 5 for right now. But it is a good one. I'm a huge fan of Bailey Zimmerman. This next song is probably the best one of the week, in my opinion. It's by George Burge. It's called Cowboy Songs. George Burge is one of those newer artists that have really surprised me with their music. This song I definitely would give like a 4.5 out of 5. Great song. Go check that one out. Next up, Enrique Iglesias and Miranda Lambert came out with a song called Space in My Heart. It is a pop Latin song, so it is not a country crossover, but it's kind of cool how these country artists are kind of trying to morph into different genres to just up their game. I think a lot of die-hard country fans, like we talked about last week, see this as someone that's trying to cross over or someone trying to get out of the country music genre, but that is not it. It's just trying to expand the whole country music fan base I love. This song, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand why it was a thing for definitely Miranda. Many artists have done this. Brett Eldridge did this with one of his Christmas songs a couple years ago. He did it in full Spanish. Carrie Underwood did it a couple years ago with David Bisbal for Tears of Gold, which was a massive song in Latin America. Didn't really make its way over to the U.S. that big. Kind of very, very underappreciated song. Go check that out. It's called Tears of Gold. Good music video. They sang on like the Latin Music Awards, but like really America didn't really pick this song up, which was odd. It was a really, really good song. It's like that EDM type of pop Latin song. It's great. Go check that out. But again, Space in My Heart is that Enrique and Miranda song. Next up is probably my second favorite for the week is Good News Sold by Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, he keeps coming out with these awesome songs that are well written, have substance to them. I listened to a podcast this week. It was Kate Hudson and Oliver Hudson's podcast. They interviewed Leanne Rhymes, and Leanne Rhymes really told her whole story about her record label suing her dad, all this stuff. Um, so go check that. It was very interesting to hear that because she started at a super super young age, and she kind of talks to where she got to now. But she said something in the podcast that really got me thinking, which was music just has no substance anymore. And I kind of related that to country music, and I feel like there's so many country songs nowadays that have no substance to them. They don't. They're not like the Three Wooden Crosses by Randy Travis or Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks or those really good storytelling songs, Fancy by Reba. But Jordan Davis has really taken those, bringing back those storyteller songs, and that's what this one is. Good News Sold. It's a great song, and I mean another example of that for today's music is Cody Johnson with Dirt Cheap. That to me, I mean Cody Johnson's another artist that has taken this, and I don't feel like radio is attaching to it as much as they should be. It's just weird. It feels like country radio is just kind of getting into the melodies and not into the lyrics as much as what country music really was. And his previous single Human, which was an amazing written song about real life and about being human and making mistakes and all this stuff and trying to figure out life, and it didn't make it to number one. And I mean the past 10 years, I could give you an example of songs that came out as singles for mainstream artists that had storytelling elements to them and giving out real life experiences, and they did not even crack the top 20. It's the weirdest thing. And then these artists, they come out with these songs that really just are just melody written songs that are just fluff, and they make it to number one so fast, and it makes no sense. But Jordan Davis is doing a good job with it, and he's able to make them number one songs and getting people talking, like Last Thing You Know, and then Buy Dirt, and then this one, Good News Sold. I love it. I'd give this one a 4.5 out of 5. It is great. And up next is Kenny Chesney. He came out with another song off of his upcoming album, Born. This song is called Thinking Bout. This one is probably the best one, in my opinion, that has come out for this new album so far. Thinking About has actually the harmony or the background vocals are from Lacey K. Booth. I've spoken about her many times on this podcast. She came from American Idol. She was runner up to Lane. I probably should look this up again, but she has an amazing voice. You could hear her clear as day in the song. So I don't know why it wasn't just a feature. But if you are a fan of hers or you're a fan of Kenny Chesney, check that out. That's probably the best, in my opinion, that has come out so far. Next up, Dierks Bentley. He came out with his single of a cover of Tom Petty's American Girl. I guess there's a new album coming out with many country artists that are covering Tom Petty songs. This American Girl cover, it's okay in my opinion. It's not better than the original, but I know they're not coming out with this to be better than the original. I think there was some type of controversy years ago of Tom Petty like hating country music or something. I don't want to spread rumors, but it was because I remember at CMAs probably like 10 or 15 years ago, and there was like some type of feud between Luke Bryan and Zach Brown Band, and when Carrie and Brad were hosting it, they always did those monologues, those iconic opening monologues, and they kind of made this jingle of "Why can't we all be friends?" And they made fun of Zach Brown Band and Luke Bryan, and then at the end they're like, "Tom Petty hates us all." So I don't remember exactly what that's about, but I was very surprised when I saw that this new Tom Petty country album was coming out. But it's really just covers of his songs into a country version. Next song is a artist name of Travis Denning. You might know him. He has many number ones, but this one's called Roads That Go Nowhere. Great song. He's another artist that still writes music as a story-based song. He has a couple, fun beer drinking songs, but this one I'd probably get like a 4 out of 5. Next up, this is kind of an honorable mention because it is pop, but it has a country artist in it. It is a Pitbull song. He sang a song with Dolly Parton. It's part of the 500 edition of Trackhouse in Daytona. It is called Powerful Women, and it is sampling 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is in it, singing the 9 to 5 chorus, and then Pitbull is doing his rapping thing in the song. It's decent. I mean, it's just giving another generation another reason to listen to Dolly, to 9 to 5. It's cool how Dolly kind of picks what she does, because she's really choosing, like, everybody in the world knows who Dolly is. Every generation too. Like, she hasn't had a number one in years, but her fame has never faded. She's always put herself in a position that everyone knows who she is, which is a genius marketing. Whoever's doing her marketing is just absolutely a genius, and maybe it's her. I don't know who to give the credit to, but whoever's doing it is doing an amazing job. But that's all we have for new country music this week. Let's get into the media base chart for this past week. With number 5 this week, we have Hardy and Truck Bed. Number 4 this week, Kane Brown, I Can Feel It. Number 3 this week, Cody Johnson, The Painter. Another Storyteller song, great. Number 2 this week, Warren Zyder with Pretty Little Poison. And the new number 1 this week, up from number 4 last week, is Luke Combs, Where the Wild Things Are. That's all I have this week for Pro Series Off Topic episode 45. Enjoy another episode of Pro Series this week. It will be coming out on Wednesday. It's a good one. Go check that out. Stay tuned to that and subscribe, like, whatever. Review this podcast on wherever you listen to podcasts. And I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.